It's 5 to 10, and with millions of you having cast your votes, the polls are about to close.
The arguments of the campaign are over. The counting is about to start. So, let election night begin.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to our election night studio, your destination for unrivaled coverage over the next 10 hours as we discover whom you've chosen to walk through that famous door in Downing Street.
Last time round, Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. Jeremy Corbyn led the Labour Party. We were still in the European Union and no one had heard of coronavirus.
Today, of course, the political landscape is very different and the leaders of all the main parties have changed. Sir Keir Starmer cast his vote this morning. Only 4 Labour leaders have ever been elected Prime Minister. Has he done enough to seal the deal with the British people? And can he lead Labour to its first victory in nearly 20 years?
The battle in Scotland.
I'm here in Glasgow, where we're expecting a night of high drama, with politicians using the results in Scotland to argue for or against independence. I'll be joined by the country's senior politicians, advisers and commentators to react to the big stories right through the night.
Ready for an avalanche of information and reaction? Our political editor, Chris Mason, is with us here in the studio.
So, we're seconds away from 10 o'clock and the exit poll, a first indication of how the night might unfold. More than 20,000 people took part on behalf of the BBC, ITV News and Sky in this first July election since 1945. 326 seats I needed to win. So, here we go.
And as Big Ben strikes 10, the exit poll is predicting a Labour landslide.
Sir Keir Starmer will become Prime Minister with a majority of around 170 seats.
The exit poll predicts that Labour will have captured 410 seats, adding 209. It suggests the Conservatives will have lost 241 MPs, landing on 131.
On to the other numbers, the Liberal Democrats up 53 on...
And of course, a big thank you to all of you who have watched all night. Later, we will bring you Sir Keir Starmer's journey to Buckingham Palace to accept the King's invitation to form a government. There will be huge challenges ahead. But today, our next Prime Minister will walk into Downing Street, only the 7th Labour Prime Minister in history, the leader of a new government, the start of a new chapter for his party, and the beginning of a new era for us all. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye. And as Big Ben strikes 10, the exit poll is predicting a Labour landslide.
Sir Keir Starmer will become Prime Minister with a majority of around 170 seats.
Blimey, just take a look and take in those numbers. The Conservative Party, so often an election-winning machine, looks pulverised tonight.
I think that an electoral meteor has now struck planet Earth.
It is going to be quite the night.
We're looking for the first count.
We are.
We need the first count. And we're hoping that it's going to be one of these counts. We're just going to cut in there because we've got a declaration.
18,837.
How would you sum up the evening?
There is no way of describing this as anything other than a bad night for the Conservative Party.
Laura, I'm fed up of performance art politics. I've watched colleagues in the Conservative Party strike poses, write inflammatory op-eds and say stupid things. I've had enough of it.
Grant Shapps there, looking really quite shaken by what has happened to him tonight.
Some of the most familiar faces that we've been seeing, certainly over the last Parliament, are gone. The former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom has lost her seat.
One has to say, this does look like an election that the Conservatives have lost, and have lost primarily because of the votes they have lost to reform.
Believe me, folks, this is just the first step of something that is going to stun all of you.
This effectively is the 2024 election result here. All of those seats, blue in England, yellow in Scotland, replaced by Labour red.
Labour gains, Labour gains, Labour gains.
18,976.
You have voted. It is now time for us to deliver.
I don't know if you could tell, but I've rather enjoyed this campaign.
We're going to go to Adrian Ramsey, co-leader of the Greens, smiling very broadly there. It's been a good night.
That Douglas Alexander is duly elected.
James, this is a disaster for the SNP, isn't it?
It's a total disaster for the Scottish National Party, Laura.
It's not looking good for the SNP.
We've been swept aside by the Starmer tsunami.
Wales looks once again like a Tory-free zone, the first time in almost 2 decades that the Welsh Conservatives have failed to win any seat whatsoever.
The Labour Party has won this general election, and I have called Sir Keir Starmer to congratulate him, and I take responsibility for the loss.
But yeah, there we have it at 4:45 in the morning. Rishi Sunak saying it
It's
explicitly.
Over.
Yeah, that it is over.
We can now say with certainty that Labour have won the 2024 general election.
We did it!